Breaking news out of the NBA.
The Lakers acquired talented big man Pau Gasol from the Grizzlies.
The trade sent shockwaves throughout the NBA. The Lakers were instantly transformed into a championship contender.
This is a move that puts the Lakers right among the leaders in the West.
The immediate reaction focused on how bad Memphis lost the deal.
We ripped the Indians off for everything. That was like that.
That's not trade. That's not called a trade. A trade is equal value. Like, we get something in return for what you give up.
This was a swindle.
With Spurs head coach Greg Popovich going on the record saying, what they did in Memphis is beyond comprehension. There should be a trade committee that can scratch all trades that make no sense. I'd like to elect myself to that committee. I would have voted no to the LA trade. Graphics show the trade is being centered around Kwame Brown.
How in the hell you make a trade for Pau Gasol and Kwame Brown? That is just not fair.
Did LA give up too much to get a guy who has been labeled soft?
Is that a trick question?
You tell me.
They gave up Kwame Brown. Who cares? This man was a bona fide scrub. He can't play.
The narrative exists that this was a one-sided deal, but a familiar name was going back to Memphis. Another Gasol.
In Memphis, it gave him flexibility and it gave him pieces. The main one being my brother Mark, that no one really knew about.
Pau's younger brother Mark was a late draft pick by the Lakers the summer prior. Mark grew up in Spain but moved to Memphis with the entire Gasol family as they followed Pau when he was drafted by the Grizzlies. Mark was a standout high school basketball player in Memphis, playing his senior season alongside Johnny West, the son of then Grizzlies general manager Jerry West. He led his team to runner-up in the Tennessee State Championship. Mark embraced the American love of fast food and after high school went back to Spain to work on his conditioning. He spent 3 seasons getting limited playing time for Barcelona, averaging 3 points and 2 rebounds per game. He had his breakout with the Spanish national team in the championship game of the 2006 FIBA World Championship after Pau was injured in the semifinals. Mark would help Spain win the gold medal over Greece, who had shockingly beat Team USA in the semifinals, and Pau was named MVP of the tournament despite not playing the championship game. Mark followed that performance with a good season in Spain and will be drafted 48th by the Lakers in the 2007 NBA draft. He continued to improve, which the Memphis front office was well aware of.
And I've kept talking to Chris Wallace, like, you got to draft my brother, or you got to trade for my brother that the Lakers actually drafted. I was like on the phone with him. I was like, and I kept telling him every week, see how my brother's playing, He's really good. We should get him. And he finally got him through that trade.
Mark debuted for the Grizzlies in 2008, quickly becoming one of the best big men in the NBA, helping establish the grit and grind culture in Memphis, and later in his career he even started at center in an All-Star game versus his brother Pau. People say this is one of the worst trades in NBA history. In reality, the trade, and really the Gasol brothers, transformed 2 organizations for the better. Memphis would have to wait a few seasons to see the impact of the trade. The Lakers got the full package in the first 48 minutes of Pau putting on the purple and gold. The skill, the power, the vision, all of it were on full display from the beginning. Kobe was like a kid in the candy store. The drama with Shaq, the trade request, the insults. He finally saw a path to clear his name and establish his own legacy.
As soon as he caught the ball and he finished it. I remember I ran back to the bench. I said, yes, Phil, we got a big that can catch and finish. We're going to the final. And Phil just looked at me and just started laughing. But I was dead ass serious.
Kobe's urgency was apparent from the first day Pau joined the team on the road, even if it was 1 a.m.
The first time I actually had a conversation with him when he came to the team, and I immediately went to his room in the hotel. We're staying on the same floor. I went to his room. We had about a 30, 40-minute conversation.
From the very moment that I joined the team in Washington, where I got to the hotel around 1 a.m. and the team was playing at noon the next day, he texted me and said, hey, whenever you get to the hotel, whenever you're done with your interviews, whatever you need, whatever they have you doing, call me. I'm coming up to your room. I was like, well, it's going to be really late. You sure you don't want to wait until the next morning? I was like, no, I'm coming. I said, oh, okay, well, I'll text you. He came up and from the very beginning, he's like, look, I'm very happy, I'm very excited that you're here, but now let's go win a title. Let's go win this thing. I know you're ready. You've gone through your struggles in Memphis. Now this is it. This is our opportunity. We got to go seize it. We got to go after it. So he hooked me from the very first moment that I landed, and we were in the same place with the team. And he didn't wait until the next day to tell me.
Starting that first game, Kobe worked on developing a connection, even speaking to Pau in Spanish.
All the play calls and the coverages to gain my trust, to connect with me.
Which he had learned by watching telenovelas with his wife and mother-in-law.
Mirando novelas con Vanessa, mi esposa, con mi suegra también. Mirando la madrastra y mirando Sábado Gigante.
The only negatives of that first game was Kobe only scoring 6 points, a result of an injury on this play, where he tore pinky ligaments on his shooting hand.
What's going on right here with your hand?
Oh, I can't feel it. I can't feel it. I put my hand on the ball and that finger's just not there. I don't know where it's at, but it's not on my hand. Not a good feeling.
Surgery would have kept him out for weeks, so he opted to postpone it, knowing this was his chance to make a championship run.
Just make the game so much easier. You know, we had some weapons before. Now we just added a huge one to the team, and we get Big Bynum back. It's you know, there's a God. There is a God.
Kobe fought through the pain and would play in all 82 games that season, and the new-look Lakers would roll to the #1 seed in the Western Conference. The fairy tale seemed to be writing itself. Over in the East, the Lakers' bitter rival, the Boston Celtics, who won most of their championships before color TV, had their own resurgence. After being dead last the year before, the Celtics acquired All-Stars Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen to pair with Paul Pierce, and rose the trio to the best record in the Eastern Conference. Buzz over the matchup started immediately.
As a kid growing up, I always wanted to be a part of that rivalry, you know, and well, minus the short shorts, obviously. You know, you don't want to do that. But I just wanted to be part of that tradition, and hopefully we can get back to that point and have this Lakers-Celtics thing again.
But first, the Lakers would have to get through 3 rounds of the Western Conference, starting with Carmelo Anthony and the Denver Nuggets. Andrew Bynum would remain out for the playoff run, but the starting 5 of Kobe and Pau, along with Lamar Odom, Derek Fisher, and Vladimir Radmanovich, were expected to compete for a championship. First game went according to plan. Pau erased the memory of 12 straight playoff losses with a monster performance of 36 points, 16 rebounds, 8 assists, and 3 blocks for his first career playoff win. Kobe added 28 second-half points as the Lakers ran away with Game 1, 128-114. In Game 2, Kobe scored 49 while handing out 10 assists in an effort that seemed to break the Nuggets' will. The Lakers would ride his hot hand to a first-round sweep of the Nuggets. Up next were the Utah Jazz, a tough and physical team. Kobe would continue his career year by putting up 38 points in a Game 1 victory. The next day he was announced as the league's most valuable player, his first and only MVP award, which he felt was a result of his team's success.
I couldn't have won this award without the play of my teammates. You know, this is a team award. This isn't an individual award. This is an award that, you know, I couldn't have won on my own. If that was the case, I would have won it when I was averaging 40.
And even talked about his summer plans.
I know one thing's on my list is stop Pau from winning a gold medal. Love you, man.
But ultimately, though,
there's nothing like winning a championship.
Kobe was also honored in a pre-game ceremony before Game 2.
Now let's get this party started.
The Jazz had trouble keeping Kobe out of the paint all series, and he made them pay again and again. The Lakers lost Games 3 and 4 in Utah, but using the MVP as motivation, Kobe averaged 33 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists in the series. The Lakers would survive some tough moments, including the end of a closeout Game 6, but ultimately defeated the Jazz 4-2. They would head to the Western Conference Finals for a matchup versus Tim Duncan and the reigning champion San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs looked dominant in Game 1 with a 20-point lead in Los Angeles midway through the third quarter, at which point the potential of Kobe and Pau was put on full display. Kobe and Pau went to work. In 3 minutes, they cut the lead down to 6, and from that point on, the Lakers were too big, too skilled, too good. Lakers would go on to win Game 1, 89-85, and dominated Game 2, 101-71 for a 2-0 series lead. They would fall to the Spurs in San Antonio in Game 3, but the duo of Kobe and Pau was too much to handle. And Kobe hit some ridiculous shots to put them away 4-1. And just like that, the Lakers are once again kings of the West.
You're going back to the finals for the first time since '04. How does that feel to you? It's a dream come true, man. It's such a blessing to share with a group of guys that, you know, like brothers. I'm just happy for my guys, happy for the city, and we ain't done yet.
Standing in the way of an NBA championship were the hated ones. The Boston Celtics were back in the NBA Finals after 21 years. I still vividly remember Los Angeles native Paul Pierce going out of his way to start this awkward BLA chant. But this was bigger than Pierce or Kobe or any one player. The two franchises had won a combined 30 NBA championships between them and had met in the finals 10 times before, with Boston winning the first 8 and the Lakers the last 2. This was the sunshine and bright lights of LA versus the blue-collar, no BS attitude of Boston. Heading into Game 1, both teams looked to write their names into the history books.
We've been the best team all year long. All year long. Let's go with a better team. Let's go out here and prove it. Let's go. What time is it? Game time.
Going into the series, the Lakers were favored over the Celtics, but plenty of people were taking the trio of Boston to win. Game 1 was back and forth from the beginning, but the Lakers looked strong with their interior passing. Kevin Garnett and second-year point guard Rajon Rondo carried the Celtics with a lot of players coming out tight. The Lakers would take a 5-point lead into the half. Halfway through the third, the Celtics almost suffered their worst nightmare in what is now a legendary story in NBA history. Their leader, Paul Pierce, would go down, and it looked like the Celtics' chances were flushed by a significant injury. Pierce went down and came back a minute and a half later of game time to a huge roar from the crowd and hit back-to-back threes. That gave the Celtics all the momentum and left every Lakers fan with a crappy feeling. Kevin Garnett would get a vicious putback to seal the game 98-88 for the Celtics. And most people were left wondering how you go from a wheelchair to this. Listen to the TNT crew break it down.
649 mark.
I'm sorry, I don't believe it. I'm just sorry. I don't believe he's in a wheelchair. Get out of here, I don't believe it. And now he's back.
That was like a minute and a half of game time. Yes, that's a Golden Globe if I ever seen. Are you kidding me, Paul Pierce?
It was a question that seemed unanswerable, but eventually rumors started floating around that seemed to be confirmed by Pierce.
I have a confession to make. Whoa. Yay. I just had to go to a bathroom. Number one or number two? To the bathroom.
But why did you need a wheelchair to get to the bathroom?
It was that bad. Something went down. I had to go to the restroom. Oh, you were streaking?
But he's denied it since.
I can't believe people really believe. So listen to this. And I want fans to hear this. Now, if you poop your pants, does it make sense to sit down and mush it in a wheelchair? No. I would walk back there and go straight to the bathroom. Why would I need a wheelchair if I poop my pants? Like, you don't sit down on your poop.
Who knows what really happened, but salty Laker fans get to hang on to the Paul Pierce game. Game 2, known as the Leon Poe game, was dominated early by the Celtics, but the Lakers cut a 24-point fourth-quarter deficit to only 2 late in the game with the help of this 4-step dunk. But Paul Pierce would hit some clutch free throws, and the Lakers were down 2-0 heading to Los Angeles. Game 3 was tight all the way through. Gasol only scored 9, but got 4 late clutch points. Sharpshooter Sasha Vujacic added 20 off the bench, as Kobe scored 36, and the Lakers used a strong fourth to get the series to 2-1. Game 4 would be the pivotal turning point. The Lakers got out to the biggest first quarter lead in NBA Finals history and led by 18 at the half. A tied series seemed inevitable, but the Celtics dominated the third quarter 31-15 and never looked back. After being competitive all series, the Lakers were a step slow and on the brink of elimination. Sasha Vujacic's face said it all. Up until that point, no team had ever come back from a 3-1 series deficit in the finals. The Lakers would need to win Game 5 at home, as well as Game 6 and 7 in Boston. Game 4 still haunts me, and in Game 5, the Lakers managed to somehow do it again, letting a first quarter 17-point lead slip away. This time, however, they would hang on for the victory, getting the series to 3-2.
So the Lakers will put that Celtics
but would have to win both Game 6 and 7 in Boston, so the Celtics would be champions. June 17, 2008, Game 6 at the Garden. The Lakers just didn't have enough firepower to hang with the Celtics.
Here's to Posey. Posey for 3. Here's to Garnett. Garnett inside. Backs it in. And a foul. Celtics embarrassing the Lakers.
It was a 23-point halftime lead and would end up being a 39-point dismantling. And the Celtics were once again world champions.
I mean, it's just inspiring to watch them play.
Paul Pierce even hit head coach Doc Rivers with a Gatorade bath with time still on the clock. And the Lakers had to sit there and watch as crews cleaned up the court before the game and the inevitability could resume. Paul Pierce would be named MVP for the Celtics' 17th title. As the green confetti rained down on Kobe, so did the same narratives that he couldn't win without Shaq and that Pau was too soft to compete when it mattered. A week later, a video of Shaq freestyling about Kobe would leak.
Last week, Kobe couldn't do without me.
It bothered me when he said it.
You understand? So when he said it, I said, okay, you know what? That's it, because you know what time it is.
The summer of 2008, Kobe dedicated himself to changing his leadership style to maximize his teammates' production.
When we lost in the finals to the Celtics in 2008, that was a turning point. So when I sat there in the hotel room afterwards, I started thinking about that, because it's on me. If I didn't feel like my teammates were aggressive enough, that falls on me. I was a person that was completely consumed with my craft. I got to a point in my career where I had to kind of take a step back and start looking outwardly and not looking, internally of how to make improvements, but start looking at others and saying, okay, how can I make him better? How can I improve him? What's he going through, et cetera, et cetera. And that came from, Phil's direction.
He leaned into advice he'd been getting from head coach Phil Jackson for years.
I said to him, some of the players came to me and said, that you don't even want to go down and have, a bite to eat with him or go to a movie with him. And, if you want to be a leader of these guys, you got to accommodate what they like and find a common niche.
It's never, come on guys, we can do better. Come on guys, we can do better. That's rah-rah stuff. A leader must give very tactical, things that we can do, adjustments. Challenge for me was always compassion and empathy. Don't tell me how rough the water is, just bring the boat in. It's understanding like, okay, these guys have lives outside of here that may be affecting the way that they're practicing or the way that they're performing. Right? And it was hard for me to understand that because nothing bothered me. Anything personally, that never fazed me. I had to understand what their journey was. How are they feeling as people? What are they going through? And when you do that, you have that empathy. It also helps you to be a better leader. And that doesn't mean you have compassion and empathy so you go softer on them. It's more like you put yourself to the side and you put yourself in their shoes and understand what they're feeling. And then you have to make certain decisions of, okay, what buttons do I need to push for this player to get them to the next level? So it's not sit around and it's all happy-go-lucky type of thing. Your leader, your job is to get the best out of them, even if they may not like it at that time. Leadership is lonely. It is, but that's fine.
On the next episode, Kobe puts what he learned about leadership into action, starting with Pau Gasol at the 2008 Summer Olympics.
He never tried to get around the screen. He just went right through me and he said, I'll take the foul. I'm going to put him on his ass.
Both players would star for their national teams in a gold medal matchup before returning to their quest for an NBA championship.
I enjoy Game 7s. It doesn't make me nervous one bit.